Hello and welcome to this free preview of the course Build Your Podcast Website in 3 Days. In the course, we look at how to submit our podcast to a bunch of different directories, and a big one lately is Spotify. So in this video, we're going to look at how to submit our podcast feed to Spotify. Luckily, Castos makes it super easy to submit our podcast to Spotify. So let's get started. Here on the screen, you'll see a page that is linked in the description for this lesson, and that is instructions on how to submit our podcast to Spotify. The important thing that's noted here is that we need the latest version of Seriously Simple Podcasting, and we need to make sure our podcast is synced to Castos before we can submit our show. Luckily, the way that we've set things up using Castos and WordPress, everything is already synced. So we're just going to head over to our Castos account. And here we're looking at our podcast episodes. If we hover over Hi Joe Casabona, you'll see a link called Integrations. If we click that, we'll see a big Spotify logo. So we'll click that, and then you'll see the name of the show and a button that says Submit to Spotify. And that's it. Our podcast has been successfully submitted to Spotify. We have the ID, and it will show up within 24 hours if it's approved. So we'll click OK, and that's everything. That's everything that we need to do to submit our podcast to Spotify, because Castos has made the process so easy. If you are using another host like Libsyn or Buzzsprout, they may also have ways for you to submit your podcast through their service. However, what I like about Castos is that it provides direct sync between their listing for the podcast and the feed that I have set up in WordPress. So if I make changes to the content in WordPress, they automatically get synced over to Castos. That doesn't happen on every platform. So that's it for this video. In it, we submitted our podcast to Spotify. Those are the 4 networks that I recommend submitting your podcast to, but in the next video, we are going to look at a relatively new service by Google called Google Podcast, how we make sure our podcast shows up there, and how we can test it. Hey, I hope you liked that video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up down below and subscribe to this channel for more great content. Now, that was a course preview video for my course, Build Your Podcast Website in 3 Days. If you liked it, there's a lot more great content. In my course, again, Build Your Podcast Website in 3 Days, you will learn not only how to submit your podcast to a bunch of various services like iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., you'll learn how to build your fully functioning podcast website over the course of a few days. You don't need to hire a developer and pay them thousands of dollars, and you don't need to waste hours and hours of time trying to find the right tools. I will show you exactly what you need to do step by step with no steps skipped. So if you're interested in that, click the link that is somewhere on the screen or in the description down below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. And remember, get out there and build something.